you're lashing out, you want to punish. So what lawyers need to also be aware of, and other people in the workplace, again, as I say, these examples can be transferred to other workplaces, is never to allow yourself to be used as a vehicle to cause pain to others. And that is why keeping to your truth, whatever, in a sense, I was going to say whatever the cost, that's a difficult one. Because sometimes we find ourselves in situations where maybe we cause more harm than good. But it's certainly in the cases that I've been dealing with, going to the truth of matters, trying to support clients through the holistic network, such as yourself and other therapists.
And what other therapies do you, advise them to go to? I'd be very interested to hear that.
Yes, what we do. So the way I work is, whilst we're working through the legal problem, the dispute, the mediation, and so on, what I will do is I will get my holistic network engaged. So the idea is that whilst we're working on the legal problem or the dispute and so on, and through that process, the person my client, and even sometimes the family, as I say, or colleagues or friends, close friends, will also be engaged in receiving the support and guidance they need emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I say this because it's important to make the distinction between what the lawyer does and obviously what the professionals do as well. Right. Although I'm a lawyer who practices in a holistic way, which means that I see my client as a whole, I understand that people sometimes come into disputes because they have personal challenges that come from childhood usually, or later on in life. So if the person comes to me with, I'll give you an example, I'll tell you a little story. So I had this couple who came to see me and they wanted to get divorced, and they were in their 60s, 70s. I was going to say older, but
thank you, Amber. I am older though, and I'm proud of it. I'm 67 this year.
They weren't in their 20s or 30s, so we're talking about, they were grandparents by then. And I found it very surprising. And the other thing, I suppose, is when you work in truth, as you say, your intuition does become sharpened. So my intuition was telling me, like, this couple, no, I can't possibly divorce them. There's something I don't know. I need to know more. There's something I'm not being told. So I started asking questions. And it transpired that the lady's mother was suffering from cancer, and she was obviously relying on her daughter, the client who'd come in, to help her through that terminal cancer, which obviously, as you can imagine, was a very traumatic event for this lady. Then when I spoke to the husband, it transpired that he was going through a situation of workplace bullying. So once you home into what's actually going on with each individual through the client conference, I found out that the truth was actually not that they didn't love each other, not that there was a problem with their marriage. What there was external factors impacting on each one of them in such a way that they could no longer cope and they could no longer support each other. So the holistic network, what I do then is that I pick up a phone and I call the Cancer Relief Center, for instance, and I'd say, can we arrange respite so that my client has some time out, because this lady was not having any time off whatsoever. And then on the legal side of it, rather than draft divorce documents, I ended up defending this gentleman with his workplace bullying situation. Because ultimately, so again, it's funny, isn't it? Because if I had been money-minded as a top priority without, and again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't earn money for the services we give, but what I'm saying is what we can't do is be blinded and just forget about the truth and move forward just to get a quick dollar. What we need to do is go straight to the truth and see what is the truth of this. There have been times, as you've said, Nalanie, when as you know, I've sent clients to you and I've never seen them again, and I'm so happy they never did, because it means that they worked on their marriage, or they worked on whatever issues were going on, and they solved them and they found that place of peace and healing. Now, if they come back, but in this situation, rather than have one kind of a case, I ended up with another. But it was great because, you see, we nipped the problem in the bud. We got straight to the root cause, the underlying issue of what was impacting on each one of them, and therefore the marriage. So that's just one example of how holistic law or the holistic approach works. It's looking not just at the problem that you're being brought, if not, I've just taken a deposit, sat down and drafted their divorce documents, but going that step further, which isn't really that far either. It's a step or two further to investigate the truth behind what is actually going on.
And you know, Amber, isn't it amazing what Sri Patanjali says? By one firmly established in truth, actions and their results become subservient. You are proof of that. You have followed the truth rather than the greed. All right? So obvious by everything you've said. As a result, you have your own law firm. Isn't that incredible? Self-made woman. I just love it. Not only that, if I may say, the way you've looked after your mother, you've bought her home, you've cared for her, you do everything for her. And not only that, you've got your own home. So tell us something about it. You see, it does work. This magic of truth does work.
It does. Abundance comes. Abundance does come. I think that, as I was saying before, there are other values linked to truth. You can't just say truth in isolation, because for that truth, there has to be fearlessness. There has to be courage to speak out when you have to speak out, and stand up when you have to stand up, and be counted. And I love, sorry, I'm just going to read this before we run out of time, because we
have time.
Divine Grace.
Oh, thank you.
38, which is about truthfulness. And you say the following, you say, our time is limited. We must be true to ourselves, or we will live our lives as robots. And then you also say that when we live in truth, we are free. And wherever there is untruth, there will be pain. So again, it's the opposite, isn't it? It's like if you lie, if there is an untruth, there is pain. So why do people lie? And again, in the workplace, I've done a lot of work in recent years with workplace bullying cases. And I think that unfortunately what we've come to now is a time in our lives when a lot of people are very focused on image. They're focused on image, they're focused on labels, they're focused on titles, on money, on promotions, and so on. Again, abundance is not wrong. Living a life of luxury is not wrong. It's wonderful. And how many wonderful things can we do with all that money and that energy, you know, and helping others and serving others, including ourselves. But again, we need to be aware that we're not selling ourselves, we're not selling our truth, we're not selling our souls as an exchange for that. And I also believe in the law of karma, and what goes around comes around. So, you know, all the religions mention the law of karma. Even Albert Einstein said, you know, to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I see this. I've seen this in my practice, and I've seen it in my personal life. But, you know, Sutra 36 also reads that with establishment and honesty, the state of fearlessness comes. And therefore, you do not need to be afraid of anybody, and you can live a free life, which is what you've said in your Divine Grace book. And how else would we want to live other than in that state of peace of mind and freedom?
Yes. How else would you want to live? And this is why it was so wonderful to have you here today to show people who are in professions, because I keep getting asked, oh, Nalanie, well and good for you, you know, you can do it, but you can't really do it in, you know, in a job or in a workplace or in a profession. And I said, yes, you can. My father did it, and I know people who do it. And you are one in this generation that is doing it, and you're the proof of it. And that makes me feel, wow, that's why you're our first guest on this show, because on this show, I call it, you know, we talk about acting, right? Easter promise. Isn't life a show? It's just a show. And I love that you play your part so beautifully. And, you know, it's such an example. You're such an example to other people, other women, other men out there, that there's no need to hurt people. There's no need to lie. Yes, challenges will come. We'll be pushed to the very brink of our sanity sometimes just to stick to the truth. And sometimes you wonder why, because you're put down so much, as you have experienced during your profession.
I
But you
have.
haven't touched yet because you have been pushed to your limit, where if you were untruthful, you'd probably have grown much quicker. But you stuck to your guns, you stuck to your truth. And you know, hearing you is so inspiring because it does work. And that's what you were saying. And what I love is what you are about to do next, even more fully in your practice. I believe you are about to write a book. I also believe that you are going to take this work to the world at large and promote this kind of thinking with lawyers. Tell us something about this.
Yes, well, first of all, just to answer your question, and also I suppose I need to say that it hasn't been easy. You're absolutely right. Along the way, I have been put down. I've been put down by senior lawyers in rooms of junior lawyers and ridiculed in front of everyone. I've been told I'm too altruistic. I've been told by judges I'm too emotional. I've been told, you know, that, you know, I don't take this profession seriously. I think it's some sort of a charity. I mean, you know, it's not easy, and it's not easy when you're younger. As you grow older, I think you grow a little bit more wise or experienced or mature, maybe. When you're younger and more impressionable, especially when you look up to people in the profession who then speak to you this way, it can be quite a blow. And a lot of women drop out of the profession. A lot of men do as well, but a lot of women do drop out of law, especially those who've trained as barristers. And I certainly know in Gibraltar of quite a few who have.
So do I, yeah.
It's hard, it's hard. So again, being, you know, it's not like overnight I opened my law firm and everything's amazing. There was a journey. It took a lot of knocks to myself. It was a bit of a roller coaster ride, and trying to bring myself up again and say, no, I know that the way I want to practice in truthfulness is the right way to do it. And what will happen is, as you said, like in the story of the boy who cried wolf, you know, if you behave that way, you lose your credibility. And credibility and respect and reputation is not something that you can buy. It's not for sale. You have to earn it. So what happened then, just moving on to your last question, I thought I was pretty much alone in my way of thinking about practicing law in this holistic way. And it was only a few years ago that I came across a book by J. Kim Wright. She's an American lawyer and author. She's been published by the American Bar Association. She's got 2 books out now. And her book is basically about lawyers as peacemakers and practicing holistic problem-solving law. So you can imagine I was so overwhelmed when that book landed on my lap, because suddenly it opened a number of doors, quite a few, well, a world, not a number of doors. It opened a world to me of lawyers who practice heart-centered law, who people such as David Wexler, who founded Therapeutic Jurisprudence, who I've since met, Stu Webb, who founded Collaborative Family Law, who I've also connected with. I'm now a member of the Project for Integrating Spirituality, Law and Politics, PISLA, and a member of the International Society for Therapeutic Jurisprudence. And I also came across online magazines such as The Conscious Lawyer, you know, and met really amazing educators who, you know, such as Dr. Emma Jones, Dr. Anna Cowlick. They're both senior law lecturers at university who've got their books out now about emotions in the law school and about problem-solving courts. So I also met Dr. Hugh Ang, who's also a law lecturer who's interested in looking at mental health and law students. And Dr. Amal Adal and Brad Roth. Brad Roth actually teaches mediation with meditation in New York. So, you know, so it's of course with the advent of, you know, originally I used to go to bookstores in London and say, can you please, you know, do a search of any book about holistic law or healing law, and they'd look at me like I'd just taken some funny medication. And, but it wasn't until, as I say, until I came across Kim's book, and I have so much that I owe to her, because this world, as I say, has now opened up. And I think, again, you know, rereading Sutra 36 today before we came on, it also says that things come to you automatically.